Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Art Smart. It's the series where I explore some of the architecture that I'm drawing in my book and give you some feedback and some advice and some information and an all-around educational art series. If you can see right now, what I'm drawing is what looks to be a barn. And if you guessed that this is a barn, then you can go ahead and give yourself a nice little pat on the back. This is a barn, and clearly you weren't raised in one because you know that. Or maybe you were raised in one, I don't discriminate. What's interesting about barns is that it's the home to animals, and it is also the home to Jesus. Jesus loved barns, and every winter we see that. We drive around our town, we see those little setups with the animals and the barn and the Jesus and all of that. And what's interesting about this barn is this has nothing to do with that. This is just a completely classic American barn. You can see because it sort of dips in the middle and has the large door, preferably to make it accessible to large cows. It's said that 70% of barns in America are home to cows that are 30% larger than the average cow, which is a really interesting fact and leads us to believe that America does have an obesity problem. Because if you have the larger the cow, you are going to have a larger human being. Larger barn, larger cow, larger humans make America skinny again. Okay, I'm actually gonna do something a bit different here and sort of just finish out the page. I'll give you all a bit of a double feature. And this is how I like to organize my journal so that when you open it up, you see these two architectural drawings. And as you can note, if you're already pretty smart or someone who identifies as having passed first grade, these are sort of boxes that I'm drawing here. And what that means is that I am drawing now a home, whereas yes, the barn does have a box, but a sort of a dip. This is just many boxes stacked on top of each other, and that's actually pretty prominent in the American style of architecture. You'll note that a lot of our architecture is really boxy. And that's actually because of a Supreme Court decision taken in 1932, Box versus State of Circle, Louisiana. And in that Supreme Court decision, they ruled that all American homes must include at least three boxes. It was sort of the civil rights for shapes that happened in 1932. No one actually talks about it anymore, but it was one of the more prominent Supreme Court decisions that happened in America's past. And now we have this sort of really actually patriotic building at the time where people were sort of upset by the Supreme Court decision. Now people celebrate the idea of having to build their homes with at least three boxes in the structure. And here you can see the three boxes pretty clear. There's a box on the left, a box in the middle, and a box on the right. And that represents America in that we have three different branches of government in our American political system. We have the executive branch and the judicial branch and the other branch that exists. And so whoever owns this home is probably pretty American, and I assume they are out doing their duty, voting every day, and being a good citizen. What we can note from this right now is that this is actually on top of a mound of rocks overlooking the ocean. And so what that means is that whoever owns this house is probably pretty pensive. When you are a human overlooking the ocean, you're thinking about love, life, death, and liberty and justice for all. I hope you all learned something today during this episode of Art Smart. I know I sure learned a lot. This is the finished product. Thanks for joining. Bye.